you try to reflect it for some reason, it reflects the... It's a weird bug. Just means that we can't chrono break if Mel's in the game, so she's going to be globally disabled. Heading into draft, though, Yunara taken away from NIP. This champion has very clearly stood out as the best AD carry on the patch, aside from Varus, but a large focus from Ultra Prime. I expect for them to snap up the Rise or look towards their jungle for Junhao.
She's going to be that Taliyah here for Saber. I know you mentioned that you didn't want to see a ton of these control mage picks, but when you are going up against somebody like Doinb who loves to roam, having a champion that can utilize the semi-global ultimate definitely makes a lot of sense. This was one of the picks that Saber actually has played a decent chunk of out of that control mage pool. So seeing it being game number 1, not super surprised to see that one locked in.
It's going to be Doinb's first Orianna game of the split here, so interesting, but a lot of carry potential now here for Naiyou. Wonder what the champions are going to be here for Ultra Prime, because I do like the idea of something like a Nefiri, just to make sure that Doinb is uncomfortable when we get into the mid game. Xin Zhao is going to have that skirmishing potential very early on, and he's going to be a pseudo tank that can kind of deal with what NIP are showing right now. But from what Ultra Prime are giving me, it looks like they want to be able to take fights pretty slow and mostly on their terms.
Yeah, on the other side, this Vi Orianna combo, just the easy ball delivery system is always a big thing to watch. You're going to see Ultra Prime likely complete their top side here. Zhang has been very good on this Gwen. Would not be surprised to see it get locked in, although it does give some room for a counter pick from Solokill. We've seen something like the Akali be an answer, but the Aurora also, in a different way, is going to be able to respond to that nicely.
It can also be Solokill's first Aurora top lane, so very, very interesting here. I was kind of surprised. Gwen has definitely fallen out of favor, especially as a blind in game 1s when you don't have as many tank tops. I thought maybe even Mbessa, especially with some of the armor growth nerfs that she received a couple patches ago. So we get into second phase and no AD carries chosen. NIP are going to have first dibs once we get out of this. Kai'Sa, Senna, Varus, and Yunara alongside that Xayah are gone. So for me, what I'm looking for, this could be a Sivir comp. It's starting to make its way in. You get a bunch of that movement speed that I think is really important for someone like Vi to get through. Honestly, though, if we're going to be thinking about range, we're going to think about maybe some early lane priority. I think a Corki could do massive here for Leave.
We saw Baiye have some games on this Corki as well, so it could be a bit of a takeaway in terms of his pool. Still see a champion like a Sivir available here as well as we get into the second phase of picks and bans, waiting for those bot lanes to be selected. You can see how highly Ninjas in Pyjamas are prioritizing Leave and a matchup for him specifically. They're giving him R5 in this draft. They're going to have to go up against what's likely to be a Lucian Braum from Baiye and XiaoXia.
I still like Corki if we're talking about the laning phase. We get out of that. We take the scope a little bit larger here. Ninjas in Pyjamas, all damage all the time. There are no tanks here in this game. You're going to have an Aurora who in top lane is going to have a large amount of gold and experience to herself. And what I see here from Ninjas in Pyjamas is a bunch of tools to actually get things started. From Ultra Prime's perspective, how do we start a fight? Because we're going to have an invisible Aurora. We're going to have Rel who's able to stop us. The Braum matchup alongside the Xin Zhao maybe, but you're looking at either Saber starting it off or trying to receive, which I don't think is a very good look. The Unraveled Earth is only going to do so much.
It is generally what the 5 champions want to do, is kind of kite back. I guess the Lucian can play a number of different ways, but not sure how well it's going to work against NIP, who have such an easy snap engage. You don't have the time to kite back if a Vi ult on top of a Rel ult with the shockwave over everybody is going to one-shot your entire team before the fight actually does begin. So Ultra Prime going to have to be creative in terms of how they set things up. Eyes definitely on the solo laners and what they can do on these side lanes with Zhang having a very good side lane presence on the Gwen, and then with Saber on this, Taliyah, the ability to utilize that semi-global ultimate to find picks across the map.
I look at these champions from NIP, and it is so easy to clear a mid-wave. Like, it is impossible, I think, for Ultra Prime to get priority in a lot of these matchups. So let's see what our 2 junglers are going to do. Is again, mid lane, a huge focus in this series. There's a Taliyah and an Orianna in mid. Let's try to get those flashes out, and let's get ready for our level 6s so we can make sure that we have that mid priority set up for objectives.
Ninjas in Pyjamas, they want to make sure that everybody understands that they are the top 2 team in Group Nirvana. Like they seemingly believe themselves to be, whereas Ultra Prime want to try to prove that those wins against LNG were not just flukes. They weren't just against the last place team. This is a team that can truly compete as we kick off week number 5 with a Group Nirvana matchup. Game number 1 starting right now.
All right, not too much. We have very interesting starts for these two. They both get the ward into topside. Very important, especially for Solokill's matchup. So, excited though, because last time we saw these two play against each other, we had Ultra Prime almost eking out a win versus NIP. And as we said during the pre-show, Ninjas in Pyjamas, we thought were going to be the clear favorites in Group Nirvana, and that hasn't necessarily been the case so far this year.
And before we fully get into this series, I want to give a big shout out to Protif, who is the sponsor of this stream here on LPL English. You can sign up using the code LPL10, saving 10% on your first purchase, and you can get coaching from a lot of different professional players in the space, including members of the LTA North, the NACL, and the European Regional League. So make sure to sign up at protif.gg. Use that code LPL10 to save 10%.
Both junglers heading towards opposite sides of the map. Naiyou does have a little bit more flexibility when you are playing this Vi. There is wards on his Raptors, however, so Ultra Prime will have the additional knowledge of where this Vi is going to be, whereas for in Ninjas in Pyjamas, they do not know Xin Zhao's location.
So maybe a little bit of a scarier sight here for NIP. It's going to be standard starts, full clears, nothing too creative, as it is leaving Niket to get that level 2 first. Just poke him out a little bit. You mentioned, Alk, that the early game wave clear for this Corki is going to be very beneficial into the Lucian.
Usually the Lucian Braum could actually do a little bit more, especially level 1. Leave opting to go for Q start on Corki, which I think is interesting when you have the Corki Phosphorus Bomb most recently changed on this patch. The only other carry, AD carry I've been seeing doing that is Jachi over on FPX, who we'll see later on tonight. But I think that just having the Gatling gun makes it near impossible for a ton of 2v2s to really go your way, if not even here. So we do have our junglers finishing up their clears. Naiyou's going to have his blue buff, and there's no ward spotting him out. And I don't think there's very many options for a dive on this bottom lane for Naiyou. So with the ward placements that they have, I expect that they're going to see if they can catch Saber on the recall when he teleports back.
Getting pushed in right now as Doinb has done a better job at maintaining his mana, maintaining his resources in this beginning of the laning phase. Full clear has been completed by both of our junglers. Just going to be the Crabs to start things off. Not a ton of gank threat at this point in the game. You mentioned Ultra Prime generally actually have been okay in the early game. It's mostly what they've been able to do, or not be able to do, in the later stages of the game that has cost them some of these wins. And as we say that, Junhao could be hunting for a gank here onto Solokill. Does have his flash available though.
Solokill probably is going to step up for this next wave. Does Junhao commit? No, he's going to take his recall. Doesn't seem like there's going to be much doing. Some damage down onto Leave, though, and that's the heal from Niket.
Oh, they're still going. They're going to flash right onto Leave, actually. Proc the concussive blows. The barrier comes out, but it's still going to be first blood picked up for Baiye, as Niket has to get on out of there as well. Ultra Prime just full send it onto the Corki, and will end up taking the NIP bot laner down. This
is the early laning phase that I wanted to see from Baiye and XiaoXia. Niket, you have flash still, so I imagine he's going to be fine. Maybe if that concussive blows had landed, the Winter's Bright alongside it, they could have gotten a little bit more out from this Rel, but this 2v2 is really strong in lane for Ultra Prime. It's just afterwards we get into that setup where the support isn't necessarily tied to their AD carry, and it becomes very problematic. Now, Doinb loses the flash mid, will have to teleport back into this lane, and that could be an avenue here for Ultra Prime to attack.
A good start here for the supposed underdogs in Ultra Prime. Game number 1 of this series. A little bit of deja vu for the last time that these two teams faced off, where we got some weird 2v2 shenanigans down there in the bottom lane. Baiye ended up getting one of those early kills. This time, though, Naiyou was not able to clean up the rest of that, so just the advantage actually currently in the hands of UP.
everybody's mid lane. We are 5 minutes in, and both supports and both junglers are hovering this lane. Very, very fun to see. Wonder if there was going to be any kind of attempt towards the dragon with Corki and Vi. The ability to shred this objective is pretty potent. I feel like Junhao is in a very tricky spot here, Grapes, because he has essentially 2 to 3 losing lanes, depending on how they go. We have seen that Baiye and XiaoXia have been able to push, and now with the AD carries by themselves, maybe there's some more action there. But in terms of objectives, I think it is on Ninjas in Pyjamas to make sure that they're keeping the pace on their opponents, because come side lanes, Gwen can be a little bit problematic for them.
I mean, we were talking about losing lanes, but you take a look at what Saber's been able to do after burning Doinb's flash. He's actually done quite all right for himself at this point. Now he's been basically playing in a 2v1 lane for the last 3 minutes because XiaoXia has decided that 1 kill was enough for Baiye down in the bot lane, but yeah, doing a good job at keeping Doinb at bay. Have not seen him really become active, of course, on a champion like the Orianna just yet. We see some ultimates traded on the top side of the map, but Solokill using that between worlds to just dash on out of there.
Looks like we're making some moves towards the dragon, though. Saber doesn't need to show up first. That is the luxury you have when you are playing Talia, is you are allowed to be late to objectives because you have the ultimate. All of that posturing from NIP, Xin clears through mid, walks in the bottom side with a support, and there's nothing to be done here. Like, the dragon is given over freely over to NIP, and now we're even seeing in the top side, Jung is getting moved away from his lane. He's half a level down 7 minutes into this game as the Gwen.
Yeah, and already used the ultimate, so not going to be in a good position to try to fight back in any sense. As looks like actually this dragon will be contested by Ultra Prime. Oh, but Baiye just eats a full shockwave combo and gets taken down instantly to start the combat. Another knockup lands onto Niket though as Ultra Prime get 2 back. Doinb and Niket both fall as UP successfully stop the dragon from being taken.
A lot used to kill Lucian, and after that, where's the damage? We have a single lost chapter here for Doinb, no teleports, so I don't know. I feel like it was a lot invested for not all that much gained. It stops the dragon here, most importantly for NIP. We check back at this replay. All of this engage onto the AD carry, and look who else is here. This is a massive turnaround for Ultra Prime, and a great offensive after what was looking like a pretty slow early game.
And nicely done by Saber specifically to use that Weaver's Wall to join the fight, as well as finding yet another seismic shove combo onto Doinb. Has hit him with 3 or 4 of them ever since they burned his flash upon using that teleport about 5 minutes into the game. So has had high impact here in the mid lane. That's something we needed to see out of Saber in this series if they wanted to win.
This portion of the game can be very punishing for NIP in a moment because Junhao has all of his camps up, so does Naiyou. Naiyou is in fact deciding to skip this, use the mid priority gain. Saber does not have ultimate, so he's going to walk here the good old-fashioned way. NIP though, how much more can they grab from this? Uh-oh.
Wow, Leave and Baiye just going at it, but now some reinforcements have arrived, and so Leave gonna get caught out with the help of XiaoXia, eat the entirety of the culling, and gonna go down for the 4th kill on Ultra Prime's side.
I mean, Ultra Prime, they get the wave here for Jung. Junhao gets to steal camps, get a Raptor camp stolen from Naiyou, and will now be able to get a scuttle, all of his topside camps. This is a huge advantage, and that was the issue with them starting up the grubs. They needed to win that early and have just not been able to do so. Solokill looking.
Oh, duking and diving away from Jung with that between worlds, going to be able to keep himself alive. That's one of the situations here for Jung on the Gwen. You're going to get poked out, but you got to just try to full force a fight. And Solokill has a lot of tools to get away from that. That's why this matchup is very difficult.
Very difficult. I mean, 20 CS already here to start at 9.5 minutes. Not a great look for Jung. And even in the laning phase, if he gets paired up versus Doinb, it'll be very nice. If he continues to get paired up versus this Aurora, that's where it's going to get really problematic. So Ultra Prime need to keep the pace. They need to be making sure that they're tracking where the lane allocations from NIP are going. And I've loved how they've played a lot of this early game. It has come at the expense of Ninjas in Pyjamas, and a lot of this from the AD carry. Leave has just lost a lot of these 2v2s and 1v1s versus Baiye.
He's feeling too much pressure after you started calling him the best player in the world or something, I think.
Man, I didn't even say that!
He's watching the broadcast. He's like, oh, a lot of pressure on me now. I gotta perform. And 1-2-0. Hey, Not looking too good for your GOAT. At least yet. Still a lot of series left to be played, though.
It's okay. He will, at some point, we're 5 minutes away. He's going to find a way to get 70 CS in 5 minutes. Just watch. I'm praying over here. We got NIP most likely taking this dragon. Leave, got to be a little careful here. Has his flash.
Gets exhausted. Has the culling on top of him. Niket's going to block the majority of that ultimate damage as Saber uses the Weaver's Wall forward to try to push out Doinb and the rest of his crew. The dragon does go over to Ninja's Pyjamas, though, and so they can take that with a victory. However, could look for some more now, as Saber has been targeted here by Naiyou, and it's going to get eaten by that shockwave and shut down by Doinb. Junhao was not there with the response in time, and so NIP get themselves a free kill.
It's a kill here for Doinb right after Saber used his ultimate and his teleport, so it'll be a wave and advantage. I'll be honest, though, Grapes, that's the flash from Orianna. That is really, really risky to be giving up for, in my mind, very little. It's half a wave and a kill there, so we need to see Ninjas in Pyjamas utilize this lead. There is no flash on Taliyah. That ultimate from the Orianna is going to be very impactful for them to be able to fish and repeat kills on side lanes.
And we saw what happened last time. Doinb didn't have his flash. Got punished repeatedly by Saber. So now that they are on relatively similar timers, very curious to see what each of these mid laners are going to be able to do to each other to try to punish at this point in the game, which can be a relatively impactful moment, especially with this Rift Herald that'll be spawning in about 3 minutes time. Doinb doing a decent amount to pick up a couple of these kills, but not enough to put NIP into a significant advantage just yet.
I wonder when the swap here for Niket is coming. I'm looking at the bar. It looks like he still has another 2.5 minutes. I love this play coming in from NIP. You have the teleport still available here for Doinb, and as long as they can make this play, there's nothing else going here for UP.
Yeah, and Saber just going to face check that brush, run right into Niket's lance, and get targeted once more. Gets the entirety of the Magnus Storm put onto his body, as he will go down for the second time this game, and NIP doing a nice job bouncing back.
That's 2 grubs. That might just be the turret here. Where else is Ultra Prime getting pressure? It's a single mid wave that Leave is going to catch, and that is a lot of gold here. So exactly what we wanted to see. Get the flash away from Taliyah, prey on her in a side lane. Almost like magic right there, prescribed.
And, you know, both mid laners blew their flash on that previous play. NIP the first ones to take advantage of it. Although now Ultra Prime looking to try to make sure that not all of Saber's efforts were gone for nothing, as they now will try to use this timer to take a look inside Naiyou's jungle, as Junhao's going to head towards the Gromp. Doinb does have a Shockwave available. Full ultimates are available. Shockwave lands on a 2 for some poke damage, but maybe a little bit just more of a warning sign, but Naiyou might sit away.
Okay, it'll be 2 plates, you know, so Ultra Prime can feel a little happy about that, but they're going for a dive onto Jiang. He's using the ultimate to clear the wave. Teleports in.
Yep, gonna get knocked up once again by that crash down. Niket goes from bot lane right to top lane. 2 straight dives, results in 2 straight kills for NIP.
And now they have their choice of objective that they can go for. Are NIP going to focus on getting the Herald that spawns in a minute's time, or are we looking towards the Dragon in a minute and a half? Big power spikes especially coming on through for NIP in a few moments here. A fully stacked Seraph's Embrace and a Trinity Force completed for Naiyou and Leave.
So NIP, after suffering from what was a bit of a rougher early portion of this game, have done a nice job to bounce back over these last few minutes. However, Doinb might have caught 1 wave too many, as Saber will go forward here. But now Niket's right back into the swing of things with that Magnus Storm. Gonna stun up Saber and take him down for the 3rd straight time. Zhang teleports back in, but it is all too late, as Doinb will survive the play made by Ultra Prime.
All right. Let's reset. We have objectives. We have things that we can spend our gold on. A great flank from Niket finds them another kill. They went from bottom lane to kill Saber. They went top lane and killed Saber again. Phase rush there from Doinb, giving him the movement speed he needed to escape that gank. And he'll grab himself another wave and still have Shockwave for either of the objectives. It looks like NIP, though, they are prioritizing grabbing themselves the Herald so they can get rid of these structures and then play a little bit later into the game around these dragons.
A very good game here for Niket, who has caused a lot of chaos here onto the Ultra Prime members. You see him get a little bit focused down by Junhao, but nice job by him to get out safely. The Herald has now spawned, Niket and NIP definitely still want to go for this one, waiting for Doinb to make his way back to lane after picking up a Haunting Guise for even more burst damage.
Flashes are back up for both of our mid laners here. Level 11 almost available for Doinb. Could be on this next minion wave that he could go for, but by then they'll be too late. No ability for NIP to walk through mid lane. Neve gets chunked to half, and this will be a difficult entrance here for NIP. Maybe they make a play on the backside of this. Teleport behind from Solokill.
Oh, makes it a little bit easier when you got a flank from an Aurora. And remember, a lot of those tools in terms of the ultimate still available on the NIP mid jungle. Shockwave lands on XiaoXia. He's going to have to flash away, eat up a ton of those rockets, but Solokill will flash forward and pick up the first kill of the fight. Now Naiyou has jumped in, chunking out Junhao. The Herald has been claimed already, but NIP want to look for the fight. Another vault breaker forward. There's the cease and desist on the Baiye, but Ultra Prime doing a nice job to kite back out, and Junhao will pick up another kill. With that win becomes lightning. A 2-for-1 overall, but it looks like everybody will back on away. Ultra Prime overall happy that they have the Herald in their hands.
Yeah, that is a massive win for the... Wait, they didn't pick it up? Okay, it was John. John picked it up. Oh my god, I was so afraid. Thankfully, his character model was grayed out, so it's a little bit more difficult to see. Either way, a good enough flank there from Solokill, but I think Baiye just buys so much time in this fight. Now he's a 2-item Lucian going into a 16-minute game. That is really, really good for a player who has had some struggles here.
And you talk about the power of Ultra Prime's ability to kite away from initial engages. We saw that in this play right now.
Yeah, Baiye is under zero threat afterwards. It's all of this invested for the support. And then even here, Doinb's low, there's no shockwave. I don't understand the idea here from Naiyou, because all of your damage dealers are very far away. They might have killed Zhang again, but I don't think it matters, ultimately. You got another mid-wave for yourself, and I expect as we come out of this replay, Ultra Prime, as we see, have control of the Dragon River.
But Saber gonna be in some trouble now as he eats a full shockwave combo from Doinb, nearly taken out there by just the shock, or by just the dissonance. Gonna have to back and head back to a fight via a teleport of some capacity, but Doinb already has gotten himself that top lane tier 1 turret. Ultra Prime, though, have evened up that dragon count. Maybe looking for a play in the mid lane.
Some early poke. Making these lanes as long as possible is huge for NIP. Makes it very difficult for either of these solo lanes who have been struggling in their different regards to ever show up on long lanes, because if you don't control river, if you don't control the vision going into that lane, suddenly there's a Vi. Suddenly Niket is doing what we saw just 4 minutes ago, bouncing between these two outer lanes. So Saber with his flash up is going to feel a little safer to walk into his side of the jungle, but I think Ultra Prime are holding on to this game. It is just a 2,000 gold lead for NIP. But from what we've seen, the quality of the fights, and especially with the items that are coming on through for their carries, NIP are starting to slip a little bit. They're not as clean as we would have liked to have seen them.
And the way the competition works here for NIP is if you don't land that big wombo combo, the big shockwave, the big crash down from Niket, Ultra Prime are going to be able to kite you out a little bit more. So finding the best engage possible, finding the best usage of those R keys as you can is going to be very important as we continue to go forward in this game. That fight around the Herald, a shockwave only landed on XiaoXia because Baiye was able to flash away from it, and you saw that it was not necessarily the full wipe that maybe we were expecting to see from NIP on that exchange.
As lanes just start to calm down a little bit, there's a little less action, people are a bit more tanky, will mean that Ultra Prime do get some breathing room in this game so far, because aside from the fights which have been going their way,
Jog.
No.
He's trying to catch a wave a little bit too high here as he gets eaten up by that cease and desist. The shockwave comes through for good measure. And Doinb gets himself yet another kill, as well as that mid-tier 1 getting taken down. XiaoXia going to try to do something. He popped the summoner spell Ghost, but he can't do anything on that solo mission. It's going to be a tier 2 also taken by NIP as they've now added the gold.
I feel so vindicated. I feel like I've called the last 15 minutes of this game so well, just saying, hey, on side lane, you're not allowed to show up. There's going to be a Vi and an Orianna. Called it. We say, okay, coming out of that fight, we're looking at this dragon. Ultra Prime had a lot of different ways, as long as they can kind of slow down fights, ends up happening. So we have Otacon spawning. Are we going to be seeing these two teams jeopardize the game? It is a 3,000 gold lead here for Ninjas and Pyjamas. And with a dragon spawning in 2 minutes, right now I think Ultra Prime, they might have to just utilize these teleports, put themselves in a good position, and find a pick.
Well, speaking of picks, might have found one here onto Niket, as now Junhao going forward onto him, but the Rel not taking too much damage, and Doinb actually there to save the day. So Niket will get out alive, but now maybe giving Ultra Prime a timer to start up this Otacon.
Yeah, Leave just recalled, finished his Muramana here. Nobody from the side of Ultra Prime, or from the side of Ninja's Pyjamas, know this is happening. It'll be the Herald in mid. They're going to see if they can steal some camps. This is going to be a huge swing for UP.
And it's either NIP don't know what's happening, or they don't feel like it's even worth it to contest, because that's just the Otacon going over for free on the side of Ultra Prime. They didn't even need to kill the enemy support to go for it. As now mid lane Pryo obviously has opened up for NIP in response. They should be able to break open this turret. I mean, that's going to be worth it if you're Ultra Prime.
Look at the experience. I'm looking at those little purple bars between each of our champion portraits. Saber was a full level down on Doinb and is now caught up thanks to all of these blood petals here. That is a massive swing back towards Ultra Prime. I know we've been talking about the gold lead here, but the team fights have been cleaner from Ultra Prime. I think they have a better idea of how they want these fights to go. I say that, Saber almost gets solo killed here by Leave. Woo! But I still am looking at this, and they're essentially even. Some of the item leads are still in favor of UP. So as we head into the dragon spawning in 45, things that I want fans at home to be paying attention to. Obviously, a big portion of this game has been watching our two mid laners and their summoner spells, but I need to see Leaf step up in this fight. Otherwise, we're going to get a huge Baiye carry performance.
Speaking of carry performances, nearing that Infinity Edge now. Don't know if it'll be fully completed by the time this dragon spawns, but that's a big chunk of damage that this Lucian will be able to pump out. Leave definitely no slouch in that department with the Muramana now fully upgraded. So a battle between the marksmen, definitely one that we thought was favored for NIP. Now maybe Baiye is going to be able to do something a little bit more in this potential exchange. We're seeing a little bit of skirmishing around the river as Niket does get knocked up by the 3-talent strike, but just posturing at this point as Baiye, as I say that, dashes way too forward, goes into an ultimate from Naiyou, and he's going to be able to survive. And now it's Junhao going forward on the other side of things. Saber gets that kill. They almost knock up Doinb. They nearly take him down, but Junhao will still fall. It's a 2-for-1 overall in favor of Ninjas in Pyjamas, but Doinb does have to head back to base. However, the jungler for UP is down. Jungler for both teams are down, which means this dragon will be much harder to take.
Doinb's going to be able to teleport in. Niket had already swapped to smite the fight before, so he will not have access to that summoner spell. Are we going to get an actual fight around this objective? It seems like Ultra Prime are going to give, and that'll be the second dragon over to NIP after what was another situation, Grapes. Baiye getting caught on a mid-wave, Baiye getting caught out in the moments before an objective begins.
And you can see some of the thought process there. He imagined, I can have enough time to flash, get underneath the tower before like a Vi comes in, but this is not a situation you should be dashing into the Corki, knowing that the full NIP roster is right behind.
Yeah, and especially because his team is on his right side, and he's dashing away from his teammates. You have a Braum and a Xinzao. How are we ever moving away from some of our only frontline in this game? A massive mistake for a player who, yes, has not had a ton of time here in the LPL. They're a rookie coming on through from the LPL, so things like this are going to occur. But these are so replicable when we've seen them in prior games that it has led to Ultra Prime having a 2-4 record where I think with slightly better play, this team could have at least 3 wins.
I mean, we've seen them take at least a game off of every single team in Group Nirvana except for Edward Gaming, who basically haven't lost to anybody at this point. So Ultra Prime have proven that they can play competitive against these teams, like an NIP, like a ThunderTalk, like an LGD, but have not been able to fully get over that hump towards a series victory against anybody other than LNG Gaming. So that is definitely something that they're going to have to try to work on here. Consistency could be at risk around this top side of the map now, with the Baron spawning in 25 seconds. We see Doinb right now pushing bot lane, so it does give Ultra Prime an opportunity to hit on this tier 1 turret.
I think Doinb should just commit. He doesn't have teleport, and he's afraid that with Baron spawning in 10, there could be a rush there. But with Ultra Prime, they just decided, let's take our top tier 1. I like the shadow there, especially for Solokill. He recognizes he's the only play on the map. He has no vision on his side of the jungle, so doesn't step doesn't end up dying for it or losing a summoner spell. With them all recalling, this will be a chance for NIP to start to place some of their vision on the top side of the map, maybe get themselves ready for a Baron of their own. But as they shift into mid lane, love the fact that they're playing with Fog of War, seeing if they can catch one of Ultra Prime out of rotation.
The problem for Ultra Prime now is that gold lead really has started to stack up. You definitely have still a very strong Lucian who just headed back to base and picked it up that Infinity Edge, but across the rest of the map, I mean, Doinb's at 3 full items, Saber's barely at 2. Junhao hasn't even completed his second item just yet. Solokill has gotten a really significant advantage over him. So this is the point of the game where now that we're at a 5,000-6,000 gold lead, NIP are just going to have the stronger champions, and it'll be up to Ultra Prime to outplay in some way.
It's so smart how NIP have been playing around jungle, especially with their mid jungle here. Naiyou playing off of vision, trying not to be spotted so there isn't a Baron. And Ultra Prime are caught unaware. They're trying to reinforce mid lane. They were around the Baron, but too much time had elapsed. That's a free turret here for Doinb, who still has teleport available to him. And Ultra Prime, they're just caught, okay, well, we can take a top wave. We really can't do anything about mid lane. And Ultra Prime become the losers out of this.
And this becomes a situation where now that NIP are ahead, the lack of engaged tools on Ultra Prime's composition make it a lot more difficult for them to play the game, because in a situation where you're behind, generally you want to find a pick onto somebody and then start up a major objective. Without that hard engage, it becomes a little bit harder for Ultra Prime, so they're going to have to just face up in a 5v5 as they start up the Baron. Teleport coming in from Zhang, but Doinb is on the way. He has returned and will be here for a 5v5.
Huge item spikes and a lot of gold here for Doinb. We're seeing the top laners fight off.
Catch. There's the Magnet Storm Shockwave combo, and Saber already gets taken down 2-0 to start things off, but it will be Naiyou falling on the backside. Solokill will get singled out by Baiye as Ultra Prime are holding the line for now, but the health bars are very dangerously low. Zhang trying to fight a 1v2 against Doinb, nearly getting the kill, but will end up falling. It's a 3-for-2 overall, but Ultra Prime do a decent job and will be able to keep some of their bigger carries alive.
God, the support in mid here from NIP making all of the magic happen. If they can find Junhao now, Naiyou spawns in 20, Dragon's going to be up. That'll be sole point here for NIP if they can grab this. Junhao, let's see if you can do the race, brother.
It's going to be a very delayed death timer now as Junhao just dashes into his own doom. Doinb will pick up the goal 45 seconds without an Ultra Prime jungler on the map. And that means that NIP likely can just start this Baron up again once Naiyou gets there.
Doinb is up 3,500 gold over his opponent, and we saw that reflected in that last fight by him having a completed Bloodletter's Curse versus Saber's 2 items here. I thought with Baiye having completed the Infinity Edge, there was space for NIP to maybe find a much closer fight, but everything just got wiped alongside Zhang not being able to apply pressure onto the Orianna. That is one of the few matchups I think something could have maybe happened there. So Baron's going to get started. This should get ripped here by NIP. Saber is flying in.
Some sort of desperation. There's no way to engage for Ultra Prime, and it's going to cost them a whole lot more than the Baron. Baiye has to dash away. The culling comes up. The cease and desist will cancel that immediately. Solokill gets himself another, and there's finally one traded back by Zhang, but it's going to be all for nothing unless Junhao can now do something about it. Lands that Crescent Guard, but now just going to try to send everybody on NIP back to safety where they can start up the Baron after taking down 4 members of Ultra Prime.
Okay. Can we do the Baron this time, guys? We've been around the Baron for 3 minutes now. We've neglected a lot of our waves. Ultra Prime have lost big time in 2 fights back-to-back. So big Purple Worm's going to go over to them. Junhao's going to get some damage onto mid. Actually, wouldn't be too surprised if maybe they decide to go and grab that Dragon for themselves while we are in the replay. This engage from Niket to start us off 2 minutes ago. And look at Baiye. He's actually playing a lot of this fight very, very well. Ends up almost going down to Solokill, but finds that kill. But in a cruel twist of fate, it is not Baiye who is dying first in these fights. It is Saber. The gap in the mid lane is only growing here in this match.
This was after we thought Saber had a pretty solid early game against Doinb. After that 10-minute mark, though, it's been all Doinb in this game. And we can see it again off the back half of this play where Ultra Prime feel very forced to go in.
Look at this chokehold, man. Versus Rel, versus Aurora, just putting all of this damage. I'm looking at the picture-in-picture right now. We might have another fight on our hands, but Dragon's about to fall.
Very low. Who's going to pick it up? Oh, it's stolen away by Naiyou, and now another engage comes through. A 3-man Magnet Storm from Niket. It's followed up by that cease and desist on the Baiye, but he kites things out nicely and will be able to take the NIP jungler down. Actually gets a double kill, and now Doinb's running the wrong way, but Solokill and leave just do too much damage to the front line. And there's the Between Worlds, sending Ultra Prime to another world of defeat. NIP get themselves the ace, and with Baron in their hands, should be able to wrap up this game 1.
Okay, I was wrong about Leave having the Chovy CS at 15, but we're at 30 minutes and he has 300 CS. So I'm counting that. I'm taking that as a win for myself. As a Leave fan, we're eating good tonight. Another strong fight here from NIP, and honestly, I'm just going to continue to hammer home the top side of Ninjas in Pyjamas really stole away this game.
Yeah, Solokill, a huge team fighting ultimate there. Leave doing a nice job to do a bunch of damage, and Doinb with those critical shockwaves. They're going to be the 3 to wrap up this game, hit the Nexus, and give NIP a 1-0 lead.
God damn, Solokill looked good in this game, and very, very happy to see that this guy is continuing to perform as a standout member who came out in the middle of Split 2 to replace Shanji.
So Ninjas in Pyjamas doing a little bit of what they did against Ultra Prime the last time that they faced off. However, that was a 3-game series, and we saw moments here from Ultra Prime that looked pretty good. I think, you know, the main person that we have to shout out is actually Baiye in that AD carry position. I know we were going into this matchup expecting it to be a very Leave-focused bot lane, but honestly, Baiye and XiaoXia did a decent job, especially at the start of the game, and even once we got to those team fights, he was able to dish out a lot of damage.
Really, really proud of Baiye. With even some of the mistakes that we had noted during the pre-show from other series, I feel like he definitely was able to play with a little bit more control and constraint around team fights, but the mid gap was too big this game. Like, Doinb is getting a lot of attention. In favor of him, he has the Vi, who's playing on side lane, constantly finding this Talia, and I feel like Saber's game kind of ended after those 2 back-to-back deaths in bottom lane and in top lane. After that, Doinb was able to take 2 turrets for himself. The Orianna then has a full level and a half, and even with the Otacon kind of maybe breaching the game and getting them a little bit back into parity, the items there and the efficacy of an Orianna Shockwave made it way too difficult for Ultra Prime.
And we saw, once again, some of those flaws that we have seen all split for Ultra Prime rear up again and just become big problems for them in this game specifically. It's getting caught around these big major objectives. You know, honestly, like the first 10 minutes, really like what we saw out of Ultra Prime. Yep. After that, things got a little bit more on the messy side, and those are some of the things that Baiye mentioned in that interview is what Ultra Prime wanted to try and clean up, but we have not fully gotten that yet.
Here's the thing also. I don't think the draft gave them any favors. You had counter matchup in topside. The Orianna Talia matchup is way more even, but I personally am going to favor an Orianna because of the agency that this champion is going to have. Also, your ultimate actually does damage, and Talia's is just there for terrain. So that's another thing. I don't think that there were very many avenues, and we talked about it. Who is engaging for Ultra Prime? It's very, very difficult, and Junhao has been a standout player, but that's a lot to have on your back as just a Xin Zhao.
Yeah, and without that lack of engage, as soon as they are willing to start seeding objectives, seeding away gold, and the gold lead just continues to grow and grow for NIP, it becomes even harder for Ultra Prime to find picks, to find any sort of fight that they like, because not only are you down a lot of gold, there's no way to really set up a perfect fight. NIP, on the other hand, had a lot of ways to set up perfect fights, most notably through these ball delivery shockwave combos that they were able to utilize on Doinb specifically. And you can see with the damage charts, he had a very big impact on this game. He's my pick for the MVP.
Oh, for sure. He definitely earned it this game. I feel like that 9,000 damage for Naiyou is a lie. I feel like I just got lied to by the stats. There's no way. I feel like he had way more impact. We did not see very much early game Vi, which is fair. Again, this champion has been the recipient of a lot of nerfs so far in 2025. But still, the fact that you just get a point-and-click CC button a lot of the times is probably just going to smooth over some of the woes there. I don't know why we need this cinematic camera. This is kind of messed up. Why are we doing this first-person shooter versus my boy Leaf?
Wait, that's pretty cool. Usually you're playing, you know, your FPS.
I don't think it's pretty cool. I think this is pretty bad. I feel it makes me a little sad.
Yeah, not biased whatsoever here as we get our look at the replays. I mean, Leave did get caught out a couple times, but I feel like he is very aware of when he can go aggressive and go for some of these plays, because a lot of the time, even the times he got caught out, didn't actually really hurt the team too much, whereas on the other side, the times that Baiye got caught out really did cost the team.
I'm just watching these fights and I'm thinking to myself, like, it's not only, like, not super difficult to play Corki this game, but the amount of times that the carries from Ultra Prime get caught. This is right before the dragon. And even this, Naiyou almost dies. Perfect flash out. It causes Saber to chase him. This is a huge mistake, I think, by itself from Saber. Why are we chasing this fight? Let the Vi die. Kill 4 other members on NIP. Just a split call there from Ultra Prime that still leads to more and more woes for a squad that hasn't been able to piece it together so far this year.
Yeah, and you know, they are on a 2-match win streak, but as we have continued to mention, those 2 wins are against LNG, who have made a bunch of roster changes themselves. You know, we're experimenting with some new AD carries coming in, now maybe a new support coming in, so maybe not a ton to think of in terms of high praise for that team. So if that's the only team you're able to beat, makes it a little bit more challenging as we move forward to consider yourself favorites against any of the rest of the teams in Group Nirvana, especially if you're making some of these crucial mistakes like the ones that we are seeing in some of these replays. Baiye getting caught out once again on that one, as NIP just had way easier go buttons, and sometimes that's all you need at this level of play.
Okay, so we're done with game 1. Doinb's probably earning himself an MVP. Looking forward, there were still a lot of things that I think are really important. One, Cassante and Mbessa are still in this series. You still have Sion available for Jung, who, despite it all in terms of his carry performances, he has looked like a beast on this Sion so far this year. So a lot of tools still available for Ultra Prime, and hopefully a draft that is way more playable in the mid game. That is something that I really want to be able to see. Just some kind of engage. I know a lot of AD carries are focused out in the draft, but the fact that one team has a Rel, the other one has a Braum, and that's really it, kind of spells how easy it's going to be.
Love to see XiaoXia have a little bit more of a go button. I feel like we've, in general, appreciated what we've seen from him in that department. But as we await our player of the game of game number 1, NIP, of course, have a pretty good situation for themselves, being up now 1-0 in the series. And for them, these are the games that you have to now win cleanly going into game number 2 to really prove that you're past some of these inconsistencies that they had in this first round robin, where they're dropping games here or there that we were maybe hoping that they would not be able to do.
There it is. That's the man in the mid lane. Doinb picking up his 4th MVP of the split. Well deserved, especially for his first Orianna game of split 3. Gonna need a little bit more. Even as well closed out as the last 15 minutes of that game were, I'm still worried for NIP for some of the early game laning phase that we saw from a few of their players.
Definitely still things to work on. Always are things to work on here in Group Nirvana, but NIP in general feeling pretty good about themselves after that game 1 win, wanting to pick up a 2-0 instead of a 2-1 like it was the last time they faced off against Ultra Prime. Before we head to a short break, we want to give a big thank you to our coffee subscribers. If you would like to support us on LPL English, you can become a coffee member. It is the best way to support the LPL English project, because a vast majority of your contributions will go directly to the show. A lot of those initial payments do go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it also pays us on our talent and content creators. So you can subscribe to our coffee, currently linked in the chat right now, as you are watching, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. Thank you very much to Coffee, and we'll see you